Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and another video where I play with the camera angle. I'm sorry about that. I'm not 100% happy. I wanted to try something new and that didn't work for me, and you probably don't. First of all, you don't care, and second of all, you probably don't even see the difference. So stop fretting. That's what I'm telling myself. Fretting, not shredding. Anyway, this video is about the 12 classics that I will read in 2023. If you watched my goals video, that's one of the goals. And it was kind of initiated by videos that I saw mostly in the second half of last year, probably around Victober, and also inspired by Victober. A lot of people made videos about the 10 favorite classics or the 12 classics you have to read, or the 5 absolute best classics ever, stuff like that. And I loved watching these videos, and I want to incorporate classics in my regular diet of reading, and I want to expand my literary education, if you will. But most of the videos had classics that I was quite familiar with. You know, if you are my age and you've been a reader all your life, the canon you have presented with as the classics that you have to read, yeah, they're always a bit of the same. You know, you have your Homer and you have your Shakespeare, and you have your, if you're from Germany, your Goethe and Schiller. And if you then expand, you will also have, I don't know, Victor Hugo or Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, stuff like that. And nothing wrong with reading those. You know, the Decameron or Canterbury Tales, nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with reading those. But I've been there. I've done that. So my approach to classics is now, at my age, more, I want to expand, you know, stuff that I haven't heard of maybe, or stuff from Black writers, stuff translated from not English, but maybe another language. So I try to come up with a list of 12 that I personally am interested in reading, in thinking that these might expand my horizon. And I will pick one each month. And for January, we are already in the second half of January. I'm late, so it's probably too late for you to join in. But I, of course, would love for you if you want to join in. So what I will do from this month onwards, I will announce the book that I will read from this list at the end, towards the end of a month, so that you have enough time, if you want to join, the whole next month to get the book from the library or what have you, or on script, and read it. And I will make a separate video for each of the 12 classics at the end of a month or the beginning of the next month, where I discuss my findings, and you can chime in the comments if you want. There won't be a Goodreads group, there won't be a Voxer group, so we are taking it, chill and casual. But of course, it's always fantastic if people who watch my videos then join in and read those books with me. I present you all 12 now, and I will tell you the one that I will read in January. And like I said, towards the end of the month, I will announce the one for February, and then we will go from there. And I put the books in chronological publication date order. So we start in the 11th century with a translated work by Japanese author Sei Shonagon, translated from the Japanese by Meredith McKinney. Is it McKinney? Yeah, Meredith McKinney, first published in 1002, so in the 11th century. And the author was, as you can probably see from the illustration, she was a noblewoman at the Japanese court, and this is a book about that life. For her own pleasure, it wasn't meant, for publication, readership. She wrote that for her own pleasure. That's what I understood. Oh, and I'm not gonna say that much about each book, because otherwise the video is going to be way too long. So this is the oldest one, the Pillow Book. The next one, we make a jump 400 years and to France. The other translated work is by Christine de Pizan, the Book of the City of Ladies, published in 1405, and the translator is Rosalind Brown Grant, translated from the French, obviously. And this is a feminist book about Christine de Pizan, who was really upset by all the male misogyny that she encountered. She was an intellectual, a poet. She had quite good standing at the court, and this is her rebuttal, so to speak. The next one, we make another jump of more than 200 years. You probably heard of, and I've read parts of it, and that is Margaret Cavendish, The Blazing World, and Other Writings. I'm reading The Blazing World, but I got this edition with the other writings, published in 1666. And Margaret Cavendish, called Mad Madge, was certainly a very prominent figure in 17th century England, very well educated, had her own ideas, and this book is about, it says flamboyant, theatrical, and ambitious. She was one of the 17th century most striking figures, and this book is about a different world, the blazing world, where women had a different standing than they did have in the 17th century, or for that matter, in the 21st. The next one is also from the 17th century, I'm sorry, and it was published just about 20 years later, 1688, and that is Afra Ben Oronoko. Here, it's a slim little thing. Might schedule this for August because it's so slim, and as you know, I'm doing the 30 books in 30 days challenge in August, so I collect the thinner books that I want to read. I don't pick them because they are smaller, but I collect the books that I want to read that happen to be smaller, and then I can read them in August. So Prince Oronoko was put into slavery and then in a colony in Suriname, and that is his tale. Afra Ben was a playwright at the time of Shakespeare, and she was one of the very few women at that time who could actually live from her writing. So now we are up to the 17th century. The next one, let me check. Publication, 200 years. I'm sorry, my nose is itchy. We go on for 200 years, and we stay for quite a bit in the 19th century. And the first book is Harriet E. Wilson. Oh, now I forgot the publication date. I'm just such a dumbass. 1859. We start 1859. That's because of the itchy nose. And that is Harriet A. Wilson, Our Nick. Sketches from the life of a free black. Yeah, and it's was first published in 1859, as I said, and it's an autobiographical narrative from Frado, the life of Frado, a spirited girl who is abused and overworked as an indentured servant to a New England family. So this is the first black author, black female author on the list of 12, and I have never read her. And then the January book. I already talked about it in my recent reads on Sunday. It's this one, another black author with an extreme glare, Hannah Crafts, The Bondwoman's Narrative, edited by Henry Louis Gates Jr. And this is an autobiographical tale of Hannah Crafts, also published in the mid-19th century, the same year, 1859, about her life as a slave. So this is my January pick, and of course you're more than welcome to still join in, but I'm very well aware that we are already in, what is it today, 20-something January, so you probably won't be able to, so I'm sorry for not having planned this better, but this is my January pick, and I'm reading it as a buddy read with Courtney Ferreter. We stay in the 19th century, and with black authors, the next one is 1861. and that is Harriet Jacobs' Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by herself. So it's also an autobiographical tale of a woman born into slavery. It's written between 1853 and 1858 and published then with a pseudonym in 1861. It's the first-hand account of all the horrors inflicted on slaves. So the theme, of course, with the classics, when I look at Black authors, is slavery. So they are books that were, at least when I was young, not available to me, and certainly not in a German translation. I couldn't read English that well. So that is the theme. Harriet Jacobs, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. And then for something completely different, even though publication date is only 10 years after The Slave Girl, and am I right? Yeah, exactly 10 years, 1871. And I thought it was also good in this 19th century mix that is very much focusing on slavery and the Black experience, bondswoman, freed women, to have something that we normally read from that period as a classic, and that is Jane Austen. So this is the only Jane Austen that I haven't read yet, Lady Susan. There's also a second book in there, but I'm for now focusing on Lady Susan. So if you want to read along, we're reading Lady Susan, which is an epistolary novel about a young noblewoman. As you can see from the picture, she is wicked and beautiful and intelligent and energetic, our heroine, and is a sparkling melodrama which takes its tone from the outspoken and robust 18th century. I think it's quite interesting to have this mix, because, it's 10 years and couldn't be more different. So that is on purpose. And I also think that I will read this not, a year after these, but mix it in, so that maybe I should even be chronological. I didn't start with chronological because I read a book from the 19th century as pick for January. But let me know, in February, is that a good idea to just start with the first one, or shall I? No, it's not my thing. I will probably just pick randomly. Anyway, this is more typical classic. Then I have a book that is also, we're still staying in the 19th century. Yeah, we're now towards the end. This is 1883, South Africa, but a white South African author that I've meant to read for a long time, Olive Schreiner, The Story of an African Farm. This is one of the books that I read in German, and I think abbreviated, when I was, in my mid-20s or something. So this is, Olive Schreiner is a South African author, and she lived on a farm, but this is still fiction. So it's the fictionalized account of her life growing up on that farm, and also, if I understand it correctly, making, comments on the life of white and Black people and slavery and back in the end of the 19th century. So that is, I feel, also interesting to put in the mix. And I've been meaning to read this for a very long time. And then I think this is the last one. Yes, the last one from the 19th century is also, again, going back to the life of Black life experience, 1892, and it's Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, Eola Leroy. It was first published in 1892. This extraordinary novel by the great writer and activist Frances Harper tells a remarkable tale of survival and defiance. Eola Leroy, the daughter of a wealthy Mississippi planter, travels to the north to attend school, only to discover that she has Negro blood. So this is her life gets upended because it turns out, stupid thing. It doesn't work that way, and genetics doesn't work that way. But it turns out, as they thought back then, that she has Negro blood, and then she is all of a sudden considered less than she was before. Yeah, so I felt that this, I mean, I was really interested in this book, but it's if I say so myself, I think I have a good mixture of different experiences and different books, and they all made it, not for nothing, the Penguin Classic Edition. So don't doubt my choices. Moving on to the 20th century, and this was published 1901, so just at the beginning, and I talked about this book. I had it on my reading list for multiple times. Miles Franklin, My Brilliant Career, a debut novel. Miles Franklin, obviously, now we have the Miles Franklin Award, which is the most prestigious Australian book award. And this is about a young woman, the irrepressible and enchanting Sibylla, age 16, tells the story of her life. And Miles Franklin was very, very, very young, in her teens, late teens, early 20s when she wrote this. So I'm not expecting, a literary masterpiece, but I wanted to have something, first of all, from Australia, but also this one is such a modern classic that I couldn't not put this on the list. And the last one, we end, of course, also with a feminist book, because this is what my reading is also interested in, and that is Charlotte Perkins, Gilman. She's called Charlotte, not Vintage, but I never understand why they do it like that. And the book, it's hard to discover here, but the book is called Herland, and it was published in 1915. I read this also in an abbreviated German translation, and I love Charlotte Perkins Gilman. The Yellow Wallpaper, if you have never read it, is an absolute must-read for the female experience, and especially how women were considered ill, mentally ill, and you had something like the rest cure, so they just had to be in bed and rest and do nothing in order to cure them if they, read too much or what have you. And this is more fun, I would say, because it is a feminist utopia, Herland. So this is the last in the series. We stop 1915, and then we have 12. And no, I'm not going to pick them up because that's never going to work with me. I will just throw them on the floor. But those are the 12 classics that I'm going to read in 2023. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you are interested maybe in reading along, or what you think of the list. I'm always looking forward to your comments, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.